Some men are just one bad month away from becoming nobody. Martin Cole said it loud enough for the whole service bay to hear, his polished shoes planted on the oil-stained concrete like he owned the ground beneath Ethan Miller's boots. Outside, rain hammered the corrugated roof of Miller Auto like loose gravel poured from the sky, and somewhere beyond Main Street, a faint ambulance siren rose and fell through the storm. Ethan's hand stopped on the wrench. Just for 1 second. Then he tightened the last bolt on Mrs. Hanley's Chevy and wiped his fingers on a gray shop rag. "You done?" he asked quietly. Martin smiled, holding out a white envelope stamped with the Whitmore Industrial logo. "Your maintenance contract is terminated. Effective tonight. The plant is restructuring, and frankly, men like you don't fit where we're going." A younger clerk behind him looked down. 2 mechanics went still. Ethan took the envelope without opening it, folded it once, then again, until it was small enough to disappear into his jacket pocket. He did not curse. He did not beg. He only glanced toward the small pink backpack hanging by the office door, where an 8-year-old girl's glitter keychain swung in the draft. "I've got a daughter to pick up," he said. Martin leaned closer. "Then maybe you should have planned better before becoming a charity case with a socket set." The words landed hard, but Ethan only reached past him, flipped off the compressor, and listened as the garage fell into a silence too clean to be natural. 10 minutes later, his old Ford F-150 rolled through the wet streets of Ashford, Pennsylvania, windshield wipers slapping fast, heater coughing warm air over cracked vinyl seats. Lily Miller sat in the back, small hands wrapped around a stuffed rabbit named Button, her blonde hair tucked under a purple knit hat from the dollar store. "Daddy," she said, staring at the envelope on the passenger seat. "Is that bad mail?" Ethan's jaw tightened, then softened before he looked in the rearview mirror. "Just grown-up mail, baby. Grown-up mail makes your face look tired." He almost smiled. Almost. A pair of headlights flickered ahead near mile marker 42, half hidden by the curtain of rain. A black rental SUV sat crooked on the shoulder, hazard lights blinking weakly. Beside it stood a woman in a dark wool coat, one hand pressed to her phone, the other gripping a leather tote against the wind. Thunder rolled over the tree line. Lily leaned forward. "Do we know her?" "No, then why are we stopping?" Ethan eased onto the shoulder, gravel crunching under the tires. He looked at the woman, then at the temperature glowing on the dashboard, 31 degrees Fahrenheit. "Because it's cold." When he stepped out, rain soaked through his work shirt before he reached her. The woman turned, guarded but pale, brown hair damp against her cheek. "I'm fine," she said too quickly. A metallic crack sounded under the SUV's hood as steam hissed into the rain. Ethan lifted his hands, gentle, visible. "Ma'am, your engine disagrees." For the first time, her mouth trembled like she had forgotten how to accept help. "My phone has no service. I was trying to get to the Whitmore plant." Ethan looked at the dead SUV, then back at her. "Plant's closed to visitors in this weather." Her eyes flicked to his name patch. Ethan Miller. Something changed in her face, not enough for most people to see, but enough for a man who had spent years reading what people didn't say. "I can tow it to my garage," he said. "You and my daughter can wait in the truck. I don't want to trouble you. You're already in trouble. Might as well be warm." In the cab, Lily scooted over and placed Button between herself and the stranger. "He can sit with you if you're scared," she said. The woman looked down at the worn rabbit, its button eye replaced with blue thread. "Thank you," she whispered. "What's your name?" "Lily. That's my daddy. He fixes things." Ethan shut the hood, rain running down his face. The woman glanced at the folded envelope on the seat, saw the Whitmore logo, and went very still. "And you?" Lily asked. The woman swallowed. "Claire." Ethan climbed back in, started the truck, and pulled slowly into the storm. From the glove box, something shifted with the turn, a bent car key on a small metal wing charm, clicking once against plastic. Ethan's hand moved fast, closing the compartment before Lily could see. Claire saw it. She saw his fingers linger there, like the little key had burned him. The ambulance siren faded behind them, but Ethan kept driving as if part of him still heard it. The first thing Claire noticed inside Ethan Miller's house was not the size. It was the way every room seemed to be holding its breath. The small ranch home sat behind the garage, half hidden by bare maple trees in the glow of a tired porch light. Rain ticked against the gutters. Somewhere in the kitchen wall, an old pipe knocked twice, then went still. Ethan opened the door and stepped aside. "Heat is better in here than at the shop." Lily hurried in first, kicked off her pink rain boots on the mat, then looked back at Claire with serious eyes. "You can use the good blanket," she said. "It only has one hole." Claire's hand tightened around her tote. "That sounds perfect." Ethan glanced at his daughter, not embarrassed, not proud, just careful. He hung his wet jacket on a wooden peg beside Lily's backpack. On the same peg was a faded blue scarf, folded so neatly it looked untouched by time. Claire saw Ethan look at it, then look away before Lily could catch him. In the kitchen, the lights hummed softly above a round table with 3 mismatched chairs. Ethan poured coffee into a chipped mug for Claire, then warmed milk on the stove for Lily. He cut one turkey sandwich into 3 pieces. Lily got the biggest. Claire got the neatest. Ethan took the crust and said nothing about it. "Daddy," Lily asked, swinging her legs under the chair, "if the garage goes away, does Button have to sleep in the truck?" The spoon stopped against the mug. One small click. Ethan crouched beside her, his knees cracking from the cold. "Nobody is sleeping in the truck, baby. But grown-up mail can make that happen?" Claire looked down at her coffee. The Whitmore envelope sat on the counter now, damp at the edges, the logo bleeding blue into the paper towel beneath it. Ethan folded it again and slid it under an old grocery receipt. "Grown-up mail does not get the final vote." Lily nodded like she wanted to believe him. Claire wanted to say something useful, but every word she knew belonged to boardrooms, not kitchens where a child measured safety by where her stuffed rabbit would sleep. A gust shook the window. Ethan moved toward the hallway, then stopped when Lily coughed. Not a big cough. Just enough to make him turn too fast. "You warm enough?" "I am okay." "Chest hurt?" "No." His shoulders eased only halfway. Claire filed the reaction away before she could stop herself. He was not just tired. He was listening for disaster in ordinary sounds. Later, while Lily brushed her teeth, Ethan stepped outside to check Claire's rental SUV under the carport. Claire followed as far as the mudroom. The cold cut through the cracked door. In the Ford parked beside the garage, Ethan opened the glove box and reached inside. The bent key with the small metal wing charm flashed under the dome light. He held it for one breath. Then another. His thumb moved over the bend in the metal as if reading a scar. "Daddy?" Lily's voice came from behind Claire. Ethan shut the glove box so quickly the latch snapped. Lily froze in her oversized pajama shirt, button tucked under her chin. "Was that Mommy's key?" Ethan did not move. Rainwater dripped from his sleeve onto the floor mat. "Bedtime, Lil." Her face fell in the small, private way children try to hide. "I just wanted to see it." "Not tonight." The words were gentle, but the door they closed was heavy. Lily turned away without arguing. Claire watched Ethan's hand remain on the glove box, fingers white at the knuckles. Inside, Lily climbed onto the couch with the good blanket and left half of it folded back for Claire. "Daddy does not like that key," she whispered. "But Mommy did. It had wings." Claire sat beside her. "Wings?" Lily nodded. "She said it helped her find home?" From the hallway, Ethan heard enough. His face changed, but he did not enter the room. He only reached for the thermostat, turned it up 2 degrees, and stared at the blue scarf on the peg like it had asked him a question he still could not answer. By morning, the rain had turned to a thin silver crust over the driveway, and Claire woke to the sound of Ethan's boots crossing the kitchen before sunrise. Not loud. Not careless. Measured, like a man who had learned not to wake a child or a memory. From the couch, she saw him standing at the sink, reading the Whitmore letter under the yellow stove light. He did not tear it up. He did not curse. He folded it back along the same hard creases, then slipped it beneath the bread box as Lily patted in wearing socks with tiny stars. "Is the bad mail gone?" she asked. Ethan turned fast, then softened. "Not gone. Just not breakfast." Lily accepted that because children accept what they must when the grown-up they love looks tired. At the table, Ethan made oatmeal with brown sugar and split the last banana into 3 uneven slices. Lily counted them, then pushed one from her bowl into his. "You get one too." He pushed it back. "I already had coffee." "Coffee is not food, Daddy." Claire looked away before he could see her watching. There were men in her world who could spend $500 on lunch and still complain about service. Ethan Miller was trying to make hunger invisible with a chipped mug and a steady voice. After breakfast, Claire stepped into the small bathroom and locked the door. Her phone had 1 bar now. She called Whitmore headquarters in Pittsburgh, keeping her voice low above the fan. "Send me the full Ashford restructuring file. Not the summary. The original." A pause. Then her assistant said, "Miss Whitmore, Martin Cole marked that file executive approved." Claire stared at the peeling paint near the mirror. "By whom?" "By your office." The words landed without sound. In the kitchen, Lily laughed at something Ethan said, a little burst of brightness that made the bathroom feel smaller. Claire ended the call without explaining. When she returned, Ethan was pulling on his work jacket. "Roads are open enough. I will get your SUV running. I can pay you." He looked at her once. Not offended yet. Just warned. "If it needs parts, you can pay for parts." "And labor?" "You were stranded in 31 degrees. Lily lifted Button onto the table and spoke for him in a small rabbit voice. "Daddy does not charge for freezing." Ethan gave her a look. "Button is getting opinionated." Claire smiled, but something inside her shifted. Kindness here was not a speech. It was a habit so worn it looked ordinary. At the garage, Ethan worked under Claire's rental SUV while Lily sat in the office drawing with crayons on the back of an old invoice. The space smelled of motor oil, wet tires, and burnt coffee. A radio near the tool chest played a country song through static. An elderly woman arrived in a faded Buick with a heater problem. "Mrs. Hanley," Ethan said, rising from the creeper. "Give me 10 minutes." Claire watched him fix a loose blower connection, refuse payment, and hand the woman a packet of windshield washer fluid from his own shelf. "Ethan, I can pay something," Mrs. Hanley said. "You brought Lily soup when she had the flu. That was neighbor stuff. So is this." He closed her hood. "Then we are even." Claire stood by the office door, caught between admiration and shame. She had approved numbers on a screen that would erase men like him, while he kept a town stitched together with unpaid 10-minute repairs. Lily held up her drawing. 3 people stood in front of the garage: Ethan, Lily, and a woman in a brown coat beneath falling snow. "That is you," Lily told Claire. "You are the snow lady." Claire touched the edge of the paper. "Why am I in the picture?" Lily shrugged. "You were cold, and Daddy stopped." Before Claire could answer, her phone vibrated. Martin Cole's name filled the screen. She stepped outside beside the vending machine, where icicles hung from the awning like glass teeth. "You should have told me you were in Ashford," Martin said. His voice was smooth, but underneath it something crawled. "You should have told me Ethan Miller was on the termination list." A pause. "Careful, Claire. If you start digging through old plant files, you may find things your father wanted buried for good." The garage door rattled in the wind behind her. Through the window, Ethan helped Lily tape the drawing beside the cash register. Claire looked at the little crayon version of herself, welcomed into a family she was already betraying. "What things?" she asked. Martin exhaled almost like a laugh. "Ask why Miller really checks every brake line 3 times. Martin's question stayed in Claire's ear long after the call ended, sharper than the wind pushing under the garage door. "Ask why Miller really checks every brake line 3 times. She looked through the office window as Ethan slid beneath the rental SUV again, flashlight between his teeth, rainwater drying in dark patches across his sleeves. He was not working like a man fixing a car. He was working like a man trying to prevent a ghost from returning. A local contractor in a red Carhartt jacket came in around noon, boots muddy, voice loud. "You still on that rental? You always this slow, Miller?" Ethan rolled out from under the SUV, sat up, and wiped grease from his wrist. "Battery is fixed. I am checking the brakes." The contractor laughed. "For a dead battery? For a vehicle leaving my shop? Man, no wonder you are losing contracts." The words hit the room, and Lily looked up from her spelling worksheet in the office. Ethan did not look at her. He only stood, opened the hood, then walked to the front wheel. "I would rather be slow than sorry." Claire watched the contractor's grin fade. Not because Ethan had raised his voice. Because he had not. That kind of quiet had weight. A little later, Lily ran out with a paper in both hands, sneakers squeaking on the concrete. "Daddy, I got 100 on my spelling test." Ethan turned so fast the wrench slipped from his hand and clanged against the floor. The sound made Claire flinch. Ethan did not. He crouched, took the paper as though it were something breakable, and smiled for the first time that day. "Look at that. 100 is a big number." Lily beamed, then glanced at Claire. "Miss Claire, I spelled tomorrow right. It has 2 R's. I used to forget one." "That is impressive," Claire said. Lily lowered her voice. "Can I be proud quietly? So Daddy's head does not hurt." The garage seemed to pause around that small sentence. Ethan closed his eyes for half a breath, then pulled Lily into his arms. "You can be proud as loud as you want." But he said it softly, like noise still cost him something. Claire turned toward the vending machine, pretending to choose coffee she did not want. Behind her, father and daughter held on a second longer than normal. When she looked back, Ethan was staring at the office wall where Lily had taped the crayon drawing of the 3 of them. The Snow Lady. The garage. A family shape drawn before anyone had earned it. The front door opened with a rush of cold air. Martin Cole stepped inside, shaking sleet from his wool overcoat. His eyes found Claire first. Recognition flashed. Then calculation. "Well," he said, smoothing his tie. "This is unexpected." Ethan's face hardened at the sight of him. "If you came to discuss the contract, my daughter is here." Martin smiled. "I came to check on our visitor." Claire stepped forward before Ethan could question the word "our." "My vehicle is being repaired." "By Mr. Miller?" "Of course." Martin let his gaze move over the cracked floor, the old coffee maker, the unpaid parts invoices clipped near the register. "A charming place to hide from the weather." Ethan looked at Claire then. Not suspicious yet. Just listening. That hurt worse. Claire lifted her chin. "Martin, you can leave." The command was small, but it changed the air. Ethan heard it. Lily heard it. Martin heard it most of all. He smiled as if she had handed him a weapon. "Certainly, Miss Whitmore." The name fell softly. Too softly. Ethan's eyes moved from Martin to Claire. Lily hugged Button against her chest. "Miss Claire," she asked, "is he your boss?" No one answered fast enough. Outside, a truck passed on the wet road, brakes squealing at the stop sign. Ethan's hand closed around the edge of the workbench until his knuckles went pale. Claire saw it. Martin saw it too. And this time, he smiled like he had finally found the place where Ethan Miller could still bleed. The name Whitmore stayed in the garage longer than Martin did. It sat between Ethan and Claire like a tool dropped in the wrong place, too sharp to step around. After Martin left, Ethan did not ask who she was. That made it worse. He finished tightening the wheel nuts on her rental SUV, checked the brake fluid again, then wrote one word on the work order: battery. Claire stood near the counter, waiting for the question that did not come. Lily looked from her father to Claire, hugging Button so tight one floppy ear bent sideways. "Daddy," she whispered, "is Miss Claire in trouble?" Ethan capped his pen. Not our trouble, baby. Claire felt the sentence close like a door. By late afternoon, consequences began arriving without knocking. The bank called first. Ethan answered in the office, his voice low, eyes fixed on the rain-streaked window. Yes, ma'am. I understand the contract counted as projected income. He listened. No, I do not have another guarantor. Lily sat on the floor outside the office, pretending to color, but her crayon stopped moving. Claire heard enough to know Martin had moved fast. Then 2 customers canceled appointments. One said he had heard Miller Auto might be shutting down. Another claimed he did not want his truck tied up in personal drama. Ethan thanked both of them. Thanked them? After the second call, he removed the hand-painted price board from the wall. For one breath, Claire thought he was giving up. Instead, he wiped the dust from the edges and hung it back straighter than before. That small act struck her harder than anger would have. He was not denying the storm. He was refusing to let Lily watch the roof come off. That night, when Ethan drove Mrs. Hanley home because her Buick heater still sputtered, Claire made her first mistake in the shape of mercy. She called the electric company, paid the overdue balance, and asked them not to mention her name. It felt clean for almost 5 minutes. Then Ethan returned and found the confirmation slip taped to the side door, left by a lineman who had not understood secrecy. He read it once. His face did not change. That was how Claire knew she had hurt him. Ethan, she said, stepping into the mudroom. I was trying to help. He placed the slip on the table between them. You paid my bill without asking me. Your daughter was cold. My daughter has a father. The words were quiet, but Lily heard them from the hallway. Her eyes filled, not with tears yet, but with that scared shine children get when grown-ups make the air feel breakable. Claire swallowed. I did not mean to disrespect you. Then stop helping like I am not in the room. Lily stepped forward in her socks, button tucked under her arm. Miss Claire, she said, voice small, maybe do not give Daddy secret money. He gets quiet when people make him feel little. No boardroom had ever silenced Claire like that. Ethan turned away first, not from anger, but to spare his daughter the look on his face. Outside, sleet clicked against the kitchen window. Inside, the blue scarf on the peg barely moved in the heat from the vent. Claire looked at it, then at the bent corner of the Whitmore envelope beneath the bread box, and understood something she should have known before she opened her wallet. Some wounds do not ask for rescue. They ask to be seen without being reduced. Her phone buzzed again. Martin. She did not answer. Across the room, Ethan lifted Lily into his arms and carried her toward bed. Are we still okay? Lily asked. He kissed her hair. You are. But he did not say we. The next morning, school closed before sunrise, and Lily found the box because crayons were never where grown-ups said they were. It sat on the top shelf of the garage office closet, a dull gray metal box with a strip of masking tape across the lid. Anna. Lily dragged over a step stool, climbed one careful step, and stretched her fingers toward it. Claire saw her from the doorway. Lily, wait. Too late. The box tipped, slid, and landed on the carpet with a soft metallic thud. Nothing broke. But Ethan, standing beneath a raised hood in the service bay, froze as if something had. Lily knelt beside the open box. Inside were photographs, a folded hospital bracelet, a small stack of papers, and the bent car key with the metal wing charm. She touched only the edge of it. Is this Mommy's? Ethan crossed the room before Claire could speak. Not angry. Worse. Empty. Lily pulled her hand back fast. Did I do bad touching it? That question reached him. His face changed. He crouched so quickly his knee hit the floor. No, baby. No. You did not do bad. Then why do you hide it? Ethan looked at the key, then at the photo on top, a smiling blonde woman in a blue scarf, sitting on the tailgate of the Ford with baby Lily wrapped in a yellow blanket. His thumb hovered over the picture but did not touch it. Because some things hurt. Lily's chin trembled. I miss her too, And I was little. The office heater clicked on. Warm air moved the edge of the hospital paper. Ethan gathered the contents with hands that knew exactly where every item belonged. Too exactly. He closed the box and set it on the desk, not back in the closet. That small difference did not escape Claire. Something had opened, even if only an inch. An hour later, while Ethan drove to pick up a rebuilt alternator from a parts store 12 miles away, Claire stayed at the garage with Lily. It was a bad decision, and she knew it, but truth had begun scratching at the walls. She opened her laptop on the counter, logged into the Whitmore archive, and searched the name Anna Miller. One result appeared, sealed under legacy litigation. Claire's hands went cold. She clicked. The file loaded slowly over the weak rural internet, settlement correspondence, supplier reports, quality control memos. One phrase stood out in black letters. Master cylinder failure. Then another. Internal risk review suppressed pending executive direction. At the bottom of a scanned memo was her father's signature. Not Martin's. Not some nameless department. Her father's. Claire stepped back from the laptop as if the screen had moved toward her. Lily looked up from her crayons. Miss Claire, are you sick? No, sweetheart. The lie sounded thin. Lily tilted her head. Daddy says no when he means yes. Claire could not answer. A printer behind the counter jerked awake, spitting out the first page before she could stop it. Lily saw the name at the top. Anna Miller. Her eyes widened. That is Mommy. Claire snatched the page too fast, then regretted it when Lily flinched. I am sorry. I am so sorry. Lily hugged Button against her chest. Is it a secret paper? The garage door rattled as Ethan's truck pulled into the lot. Claire folded the page, but not before seeing the date of the accident, the same night Ethan still carried in his hands. Ethan entered with the alternator box under one arm and snow on his boots. He saw Claire's face. Then the laptop. Then Lily's scared eyes. The room changed temperature without the heater moving. What did you find? He asked. Claire tried to speak, but the words had weight now. They were not information. They were a match near dry wood. Her phone buzzed on the counter. Martin again. This time she answered on speaker by mistake. His voice filled the garage. If you found the Miller file, close it. Some graves are expensive to reopen. Ethan did not blink. Lily whispered, Daddy, why is Mommy in a grave file? And for the first time since Claire had met him, Ethan Miller looked like silence might not be strong enough to hold him together. The speakerphone went dead, but Martin's warning stayed alive in the garage. Some graves are expensive to reopen. Ethan stood with the alternator box in his arms, staring at Claire as if she had become two people at once, the woman he had pulled from the cold, and the woman whose name could open the grave he had spent years standing beside. Lily pressed herself against his leg. Daddy, is Mommy in trouble? Ethan set the box down with care. No, baby. Then why do grown-ups keep whispering about her? No one answered, and the silence taught Lily more than any answer could. By noon, Martin had summoned them to the Whitmore plant under the excuse of resolving the contract dispute. Ethan almost refused. Claire expected him to. Instead, he picked up Lily's purple coat from the hook and zipped it to her chin. You stay beside me, he said. Okay. If you get scared, squeeze my hand. What if you get scared? Ethan paused, then took her small hand in his. Then you squeeze back. The plant sat beyond the railroad tracks, all brick walls, chain-link fence, American flag snapping in the sleet. Inside, fluorescent lights buzzed over a break room crowded with workers, supervisors, and a few office staff pretending not to stare. Martin stood at the front beside a folded table, a stack of papers arranged like evidence. Thank you for coming, he said, voice polished for an audience. Mr. Miller has raised concerns that may be emotional in nature, and I believe transparency matters. Ethan's jaw moved once. Claire saw it. The restraint. The dignity. The cost. Martin lifted a paper. Mr. Miller's contract was terminated due to performance concerns and instability after a personal tragedy. A murmur passed through the room. Lily's hand tightened. "Daddy, can we go?" she whispered. "I do not like when they talk like that." Ethan bent slightly. "1 minute, baby." Martin turned toward Claire. "Miss Whitmore, perhaps you would like to confirm corporate procedure." Every face shifted to her. Ethan's eyes followed last. Not pleading. Not angry. Waiting. That was worse than accusation. Claire could have used careful words. She could have protected the company, her father, herself. She looked at Lily clutching button under one arm, cheeks pink from cold and shame she had not earned. Then Claire walked to the front of the room. "My name is Claire Whitmore," she said. The break room went still. "I am the Chief Executive Officer of Whitmore Industrial Holdings." Someone dropped a paper cup. Ethan did not move. Lily looked up at him. "She is the boss?" Ethan's voice came thin. "Yes." Claire turned to him, not the crowd. "I should have told you." Martin stepped closer, smiling with his teeth. "And now that we are being honest, Miss Whitmore can explain that reopening legacy claims would endanger jobs across this county." Claire faced him. "No. You do not get to hide behind workers after using them as shields." The room changed. A few workers looked at Martin differently. Others looked at Ethan as if seeing, for the first time, the man beneath the rumors. Claire placed the printed page on the table. Her hand shook, but her voice did not break. "I am ordering a full independent review of the Ashford plant, the termination list, and all safety files connected to Anna Miller's accident." Ethan flinched at Anna's name. Lily whispered, "Mommy." Martin's smile thinned. "You are making a mistake." Claire looked at him. "I already made one. I am correcting it in public." She turned back to Ethan. "I do not deserve your trust today, but I will not ask you to carry another secret for this company." Ethan looked at the page, then at Claire, then down at Lily. His daughter's eyes were wet. "Did Miss Claire lie to us?" she asked. Ethan crouched, his work jeans creasing against the tile. "Yes, sweetheart." Claire closed her eyes. Then Ethan added, "But she is telling the truth now." It was not forgiveness. It was not absolution. It was 1 inch of mercy in a room built for judgment. Martin reached for the papers, but an older worker named Dale stepped forward and put his palm over the file. "Let her finish." For the first time all day, Martin had no easy sentence ready. Outside the break room windows, the sleet turned to snow. Inside, Ethan Miller stood with his daughter's hand in his and the name of his wife on the table between him and the company that had taught him to blame himself. By evening, the break room was no longer big enough for the truth, so the meeting moved to Ashford Town Hall, where folding chairs scraped the basketball court floor and snow tapped the high windows like fingers asking to come in. Ethan sat in the second row with Lily pressed close to his side, button tucked between them. Claire stood near the front beside a portable speaker, a stack of copied files in her arms. She had found more than a report. She had found a voicemail transcript from the night Anna Miller died, logged by a roadside assistance operator, and buried inside the settlement file. Ethan had never seen it. Martin had. The mayor opened with careful words about community, jobs, and patience. Martin took the microphone before anyone could stop him. "We all sympathize with Mr. Miller," he said, letting his eyes fall on Ethan like pity was a spotlight. "But grief can distort memory. This town cannot let old pain destroy current livelihoods." A few people shifted in their chairs. Ethan looked down at his hands. They were clean for once, but he rubbed his thumb over his palm as if grease or guilt still lived there. Lily leaned into him. "Daddy, why is he saying your memory is broken?" Ethan swallowed. "He is scared of the right one." Claire heard it, and something in her straightened. She stepped forward. "Then let us use records." Martin's face tightened. "Miss Whitmore, I advise caution." "You have advised enough." The room went quiet. Claire placed the first memo under the document camera. On the wall, enlarged in pale light, appeared the words, "Known defect, delayed recall, executive review pending." A sound moved through the crowd, not anger yet. Recognition. Dale, the older worker from the plant, removed his cap. Claire turned to the next page. This master cylinder batch was flagged 3 weeks before Anna Miller's accident. Ethan lifted his eyes. Not all the way. Just enough. Lily whispered, "What is a master cylinder?" Ethan's voice came rough. "Part of the brakes, baby. Like the thing you check?" He nodded once. Martin reached for the microphone. "These files lack context." Claire held up another sheet. "Then add this context. The local garage report after the crash showed Ethan Miller had replaced the brake pads 4 days earlier. The brake pads were not the failure." Ethan stopped breathing for 1 second. Everyone saw it. For years, Ashford had known him as the man who never trusted his own work again. Now the room began to understand why. Martin said, "This is not a courtroom." Ethan stood then, not fast, not proud. Lily grabbed his sleeve. "Daddy, can we go? I do not want them to keep saying Mommy wrong." That sentence did what no document could. It turned the room from witnesses into human beings. Ethan knelt in front of her. "Your mom was not wrong. Were you?" He closed his eyes. The old siren returned somewhere behind his face. Rain on glass. Anna's breath. The pedals sinking too far. His own voice saying, "Hold on, hold on, hold on." He opened his eyes and looked at the room, but he spoke to Lily. "I thought I was. For a long time." Claire lowered the file in her hands. This was no longer evidence. It was a man stepping out of a sentence he had served alone. Ethan continued, each word plain and heavy. "Your mom got sick that night. I drove her towards St. Luke's, 7 miles out. The road was wet. The brakes went soft at the curve near the old water tower. I kept thinking I should have checked one more thing. One more line. One more bolt." Lily's lips trembled. Did Mommy think that? Ethan could not answer. Claire stepped to the speaker and pressed play. A woman's recorded voice filled the gym, thin with static, but alive. Anna Miller, telling the operator, "My husband did everything right. Tell him Lily needs him more than guilt does." No one moved. Even Martin seemed smaller beneath the fluorescent lights. Ethan covered his mouth, not to hide weakness, but because the truth had finally reached him in Anna's own words. Lily wrapped both arms around his waist. "Daddy," she cried softly, "Mommy was not mad at you." Ethan bent over his daughter, and the whole room stayed silent, not stunned by power, not frightened by scandal, but humbled by the sound of a child giving her father permission to breathe. A week after the town hall went silent, Ashford woke to snow melting off rooftops and a different kind of quiet around Miller Auto. The price boards still hung on the wall. The coffee maker still burned too hot. But the Whitmore envelope was gone from under the bread box, replaced by a plain white folder Claire had left on the kitchen table. Inside were reinstated contracts, an independent safety review, a worker-led inspection board, and Martin Cole's resignation. Ethan read the papers once, then closed the folder without smiling. Lily watched from her cereal bowl. "Is that good grown-up mail?" He looked at her, then at the empty peg where the blue scarf had hung for years. "It is better mail." Claire did not arrive with cameras or a check too large to refuse. She came alone in the same brown coat, carrying a small padded envelope and a cassette player borrowed from the county records office because the hospital archive had kept one more thing than anyone expected. "There is something Anna left," she said. Ethan's hand moved toward the glove box key out of habit, though they were standing in his kitchen. "Why did nobody give it to me?" Claire's eyes lowered. "Because the settlement file was sealed before the hospital packet was released. My company helped bury more than reports." She did not ask for forgiveness. That mattered. Ethan took the envelope, but his fingers would not open it. Lily climbed off her chair and stood beside him with Button under one arm. "I can sit close," she said. "Not baby close. Just close. Ethan made a sound that almost broke into a laugh and almost became a sob. They drove to St. Luke's Cemetery just outside town, past mailboxes with little American flags, past wet fields shining under the pale winter sun. Anna Miller's grave sat beneath an old oak, the stone brushed clean of snow. Ethan brought the gray metal box for the first time. Not hidden. Carried. He opened it on the bench, and there it was, the bent car key with the small metal wing charm. Lily reached for it, then stopped and looked at him first. Ethan placed it in her palm. It was your mom's. Lily held it like it might fly away. The wing key. Claire set the cassette player on the bench. The old machine clicked. The tape hissed. For a moment, there was only whine through bare branches and the small plastic wheel turning behind a cloudy window. Then Anna's voice came through, thin, warm, trembling with life. Ethan, if they ever play this, do not you dare make my love into your punishment. Ethan bowed his head. Lily froze. Claire covered her mouth and turned slightly away, giving them privacy without leaving them alone. Anna's voice continued, softer under the static. Tell Lily the wing on my key was not because I wanted to leave. It was because your daddy always made every place feel like home. The tape clicked. Silence followed. Long enough for grief to change shape. Then Lily pressed the bent key into Ethan's hand and wrapped both of her small hands around his. Daddy, she whispered. Mommy said you were home? Ethan closed his eyes. Snow slid from an oak branch and landed without a sound. When he opened them, something in his face had loosened, not healed all at once, but no longer locked. I kept trying to drive back to that night, he said. Maybe, Lily said, wiping her nose with her sleeve. We can drive to Pancakes instead. Mommy liked pancakes, right? Ethan laughed then, broken and beautiful. He pulled her close. She loved pancakes. Claire stood a few feet away, tears on her cheeks, holding the folder that could fix jobs but not this. This had to be given, not managed. Ethan looked at her across the grave. Start there, he said again, but this time it did not sound like a wall. It sounded like a road. Claire nodded. I will. The cassette player rested between them, tape finished, wheels still. And for the first time in years, the little metal wing was not a lock on the past. It was a key back to love.